on, wrestling fans? It is I, Steve-O, and welcome to 10 Count. On today's edition, I'm talking to one of my favorite women's wrestlers of all time. It's Jazz. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure because NWA 75 is coming up, and I know you work behind the cameras there, but you held that championship, the women's championship in NWA, for 948 days. The only person to actually have a longer reign is Fabulous Moolah, and I'll be honest, I don't think anyone is ever going to beat any of Moolah's records in any
Right?
championships. How's that feel, though? Because, Moolah always going to be prominent in the women's division everywhere she ever went. But now you're number two, and that's pretty awesome.
Yes, it's an honor. Honestly, I've been compared to Moolah quite often within my career, so just to have my name brought up as the same as hers is like wow. Never thought that in a million years, but yes, it's an honor, it's a privilege to be up there in the ranks of with the Miss Fabulous one herself, Miss Moolah. But also Camille is stepping on my heels, baby.
We're 800 plus days right now as champion as well, and she is a
Yes,
dominant champion. I love her to pieces as well. Great champion, but we got that'd be another 100 and something days even to come close to you. And so
yes.
far, she's doing a pretty good job of it. So we'll have
She's
to
doing
see
an
what
awesome
happens
job. She's
because
a she's a fabulous, she's a wonderful champion. She rectifies what a champion truly is. I love working with her over there at NWA. But yeah, I guess in the NWA history world books, it would be Moolah. I don't know, Jazz, Camille, but it'd be the three of us. So
it's
there's three on your Mount Rushmore of women champions for the NWA.
Yeah, I would say even in general, because look at all organizations, top to bottom, from the ones that are still around, the ones that don't exist. Title
Yes.
reigns didn't last that very long. And in today's world, it feels like it's happening a lot more, maybe to make a championship seem more, because for so
Yes.
long, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato. How do you feel about that? Because Camille in her days champion, you got Roman Reigns going on what, like 10,000 days or something. All these wrestlers from all these companies are doing so well with their championship reigns. But when you were more prominently active, it was, hey, you won the title
No.
this week, you won it, you
Mm.
lost it next week. How do you feel about the differences?
I mean, if the storyline is going good, why not? Like, let it roll, man. Let it roll until it dies out.
Yeah, of
That fire burning, baby, until it dies out.
course.
Yes. I mean, when I was in the top of my game, I mean, as far as keeping a belt for 6 months was hard, but I mean, it was hard enough to get 10 minutes in the ring. So,
Yeah.
so there's tons of changes now, and I think the changes are for the best. I think the women's division in every promotion now is doing really well. But right now my main focus is NWA. So like, and I think the women division in NWA right now is like killing the game. Like we're
Yeah.
killing it.
Yes. And I feel like NWA doesn't get the credit it deserves for especially that, the women's division alone. Every company has its own problems, but NWA's women's division is not a problem at all. And
At all.
Camille, Natalia Markova, so many more just on top doing their best they can put out. And right now, actually, Lacey Evans left the WWE, and everyone was thinking like, where's she going to end up? Is she going to stay outside the wrestling bubble, jump back in? I think Camille versus Lacey Evans at some point down the line in NWA would be beautiful.
Yeah, of course. Of
Thoughts?
course it would be great. It would be wonderful. We would love to have Lacey Evans over there for sure. But yeah, I mean, then we have so many young ladies that's coming up, the Page sisters, Ruby, oh my God. I mean, we have a couple of more that's coming up, but the tag team women's championships between Maddie and Missa Kate, it's like, yeah, the NWA women aren't getting the recognition and the attention that they deserve. But one thing about it, if they even dial and tune in too, they can see for themselves. Like the NWA women's division ain't going nowhere,
No. And
and
again,
we're constantly getting better and better.
And like for years, I felt like TNA Impact Wrestling had this little stigma where it was like, oh, we don't like this part, but we love the knockouts. We love
Yeah.
the women. And, you know, you had
Yeah.
firsthand in that in 2020 and 2021, where you were there. And again, you got to get dirty with Diano Perezzo and Jordan Grace. And these people are the talent that I feel like get credit from some
Yeah.
media, but like the
Mhm.
main media just
Yeah.
it decides to not put them up, and I feel like that's bizarre because they're putting out better matches than a lot of the women who are on a pedestal. And so
Mhm.
you've worked with both sides, NWA women's division, knockouts. Like, do you feel like
Mhm.
both, I don't know, need the more love?
I really do. The Knockouts division when I was there, man, it was wow, it was unbelievable. So much talent there, and just to be a part of the Knockouts. Unfortunately, I was just where I was in my career before I got the chance to be a part of that group. Because it was really, I was pushing it, but it was rough. These knees was just wasn't the knees I had 15 years ago for sure.
Yeah,
So I finally had the knee replacement. But anyway, yes, the Knockouts division, man, strong. The girls were very dedicated, and they love the business. They're very passionate, and that's what we're getting here with NWA as well. I mean, our girls, they're very, very passionate. They're young, they're hungry. So it's just it gets no better than that when you got young, hungry, passionate talent, and willing to learn and listen and work as a team. It gets no better than that.
of
And I'm just
course.
happy to be a part of that.
And so
Part of everyone's journey.
of course, every adventure, every day is an adventure for someone. We're all a main character in our own stories,
Yeah.
but right now you are helping put the stories together as a producer in NWA. Now, explain to me and the rest of the world, what are the duties of a producer? Are you putting the matches together with the talent? Are you going through day-to-day organizations as well? Explain what your day is like when you're working with NWA.
Basically, I mean, Billy is the top dog there. He does all the writing, and I just try to make sure the girls deliver the picture that he's wanting at the end. You know, I'm not a producer that I write out or script out everything that I want to be done in a match. I let the girls use their own mind. They have an idea of what they want to do, and if something needs to be changed or tweaked, there I am. I just make sure we get in the ring and go over things, and make sure everyone's timing together, and so to come off, just the way Billy wants it.
Billy is the boss. He
Billy
signed
is the boss.
he signs the
Yeah,
checks. So you
that's it.
you do what he wants you to do. That's awesome to hear because I know for so long, there was so much praise for you. I was at a wrestling event. I was at SummerSlam recently, and there were some women there, and they had shirts, and I loved it because I was like, it had your name, Jacqueline. It was a bunch of women
The
who.
Attitude Era.
Yes, it was the Attitude Era, but it was more about a prominent representation in professional wrestling. It was showing one shirt had all Canadian women, one shirt had all black women. It was amazing to see this.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is what we need more because in today's world, representation is everywhere. But when
Yeah.
you were prominently showcased in ECW or WWE, I was shocked to find out you didn't have an action figure. And
Right.
that to
Right.
me is insane because isn't there a demographic? Isn't there a group of people who are watching wrestling who see you and see themselves in you? Like it's shocking.
Exactly. I for sure, I'm shocked too that I don't have an action figure, but I most definitely feel like I was part of revamping and evolving women wrestling into what it is today, because
That's
I didn't look like the average girl, I didn't have the blonde hair, I didn't have the boobs, and or a size 1 or 0, or looking like a Barbie doll, or trying to be a diva. I just was a purebred athlete, and that's what I brought, just purebred athleticism. I'm sorry, my tongue getting twisted here. Athleticism, but yeah, that's who I am, and no one tried to change me who I was, and that's what I brought to the table, just being, brute, nasty, in your face kind of girl.
yeah.
And yes, and like you said, I don't think I get the attention that I deserve either.
Because obviously I would think you would feel underappreciated because before you had Jacqueline, and Jacqueline showed up when Sable was the hottest thing in professional wrestling. So it's very hard to get out of someone's shadow like that. Even if you are better in the ring, even if you are better than the mic, it doesn't matter because they're looking at someone who's you brought it up, the boobs, the blonde hair,
Yes,
the
yes,
look, the Barbie doll look, unlike the at the time the common, I guess, look of professional wrestling women.
yes,
So Jacqueline obviously has built the pathway for you to step on,
yes, for
and
sure.
as you have moved forward, other talent have obviously been able to do that as well. Awesome
Hmm,
Kong, I would
hmm.
say, is one.
Yes,
Bianca Belair. There are a few
yeah.
other talents, but without the work you put
Trinity,
in,
yes.
the suffering that you went through obviously helped others make the path easier for them. And
Yes,
unfortunately, again, I feel like you're underappreciated. So obviously you feel the same way.
I do. But it's something I don't dwell on.
Yeah.
I was able to live out my dream and was very successful. There's nothing, if I had to go back and change anything, there's nothing I would change.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing I would change, but I feel there's things that other people should have changed. But again, I guess, it was just wasn't that time. But back in the early 90s, late 90s, it was all about the puppies. you know
Yeah, yeah. I know.
you
Isn't that
know
strange? Like, oh,
yes,
we're gonna call boobs puppies. Like,
yeah, right. And
oh,
as
all
great
right.
as Jacqueline was, she was part of that stigma to where she had to do the gimmick matches, the bra and panty matches and pillow fights, and is just yeah, it was. I don't think it was necessary, but that's what I guess the wrestling business was doing during that time.
Right.
And fortunately, when I come about, it was somewhat changing. But we were actually told that we were starting to wrestle too much like men, and they wanted, our tops coming off and this and that. So we worked that hard to build up the women's division to where we be looked at as seriously as talent instead of just divas. And then they throw back and say, yeah, we need you to fall back into letting tops be accidentally, pulled off or come off or whatever. So when they started that conversation, I knew right then and there that my time was at an end. Because
Wow.
it was nothing, that's just not me. And I could not go out there and not be me. So I guess they had to do what they had to do.
Wow. Because to me, I get it in a way because unfortunately there's probably always jealousy of seeing you're going out there and saying you're having a great match and people are popping and people are interested and invested and then a man walks out who's not a very prominent character, no reactions, nothing, and suddenly they probably whisper into someone's ear and then hey, what is she doing out there? Like, and unfortunately that's the timing and the mindset back then versus
Mm-hmm.
you can't take today's standards and throw them at 1998 and hope they're going to stick,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but
Yeah.
there's always going to be jealousy. Probably still happens in today's world where people, for instance, SummerSlam was a couple weeks ago, and the big thing was, why isn't Becky Lynch and Trish on this card? Why isn't Rhea Ripley your champion on the card? And I was at SummerSlam interviewing the women wrestlers, asking them like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And they had their PR question, their answers, of course,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're not going to be like, well, it's stupid. Like
Yeah.
they're like, oh well, everyone's fighting for time on the card, and everyone needs to put in their best effort, and like,
Yeah. It's got to be politically correct,
yeah, like, mm-hmm. Yeah. My first introduction to you though was ECW, and that to me is a place where you stuck out because you were actually like beating the crap out of the men. And before that, you didn't see that very often. You saw China do it randomly. Before that, it was Jackie and WCW with Disco Inferno. But you going out there in ECW, what was that like? How did you even get in the door at this place that was like, this feels too real?
First off, let me say this. I felt like I did it way better than China could ever dream of doing it. God rest her soul. I love her to death. I respect her, but the truth is the truth.
Yeah, of course. I
And I'm
love
not
it.
toot my own horn, but toot. Um, no, I was training underneath. I started off with Junkyard Dog, and then got with Rugged Rod Price, start training with him, and he at the time had just started with ECW. So when we were living in Louisiana, and so when they were coming to Louisiana, he told us to show up and maybe do a tryout. So I did my tryout, and Paulie was like, "Where the hell you come from?" And he called me like a couple of weeks later and brought me in. And that's how it all started. And there wasn't many women there. You know, you had the Francines and the Dawn Maries, and they were doing their own little thing, you know. So
Mm,
but Paulie and Dreamer, they found a place for me, and it was perfect. And you know, and that was the birth of jazz. I tell everyone that was the birth of jazz, you know, and Paulie and Dreamer always told me that I was different, not in a bad way, but in a good way.
yeah,
You know, continue to be true to who I am. I don't need to get any type of enhancements to further my career, because they felt that who I was and what I brought and what I was doing was good enough to get me to that next level. And you know,
100%.
and I did that, and it happened. And like I said, I think I was ahead of my time, but again, I was the right place at the right time. So it's like,
Yeah. Well, whatever you did in ECW worked, because eventually when
yes,
you did come to WWE, there was no like big
exactly.
introduction. It was a 6-pack challenge. You just showed up and everyone knew who you were because of the hardcore wrestling fan at that time knew of
Mhm.
ECW, WCW. They studied the magazines, the tapes. There was tape trading. If
Yeah,
I feel like I'm super old saying that, but we did.
no,
We traded VHS tapes back and forth with our friends
yes,
to make sure we
yes,
could watch everything at the same exact time. I was watching
exactly.
ECW at 1 in the morning on Friday nights on Telemundo. All right, that's where
Yeah,
I was watching
right.
ECW.
Yes,
So, but
yeah.
when you came in, everyone knew who you were. And now, is that a stigma? You felt like you were gonna show up and no one's gonna know who you were. You're just gonna show up and hear crickets. But people knew who you were.
No, I never even thought about it. Honestly, I just knew it was my time, and that's where I wanted to be. And hey, I just go out there and, you know, and make a statement. I knew I would elevate and get to where I really wanted to be in that promotion, because I knew I had that kind of drive and work ethic. But yeah, it was weird because you know, I show up there and they're just like, "Oh, you're gonna be a heel," and I'm like, "Huh?" I was always a babyface working against the guys in ECW, you
Yeah,
know. So yeah, I was like, okay, I just went out there and do what I thought I had to do as a heel. But eventually I ended up, you know, studying and working on it and developing into, I think, one of the top heels that the promotion has ever had.
yeah.
You know, but yeah, it was crazy because I worked Trish at a house show, and we got back to the through Gorilla, and they were like going to Trish, "Are you okay? Are you all right? Are you sure you're okay?" And I'm like, they was thinking, I guess they thought I actually beat the crap out of her, you know. I'm like, no, I'm a worker.
Yeah.
I can work.
Oh my.
Like, they
Oh
should have
my.
been checking on me, because shit, Trish, them kicks, you never knew which angle they were gonna come from. The head, the shoulder, the stomach, you never knew. But yeah, but you know, that was their golden one, and they were more, you know, petrified of that I was gonna kill her. But once they realized and that I wasn't, and Trish loved working with me, you know, because I made it look like $1 million.
Yeah.
And so we that's end up making history together.
Of course. Now, how are you brought into the company though? Because you just said you had a dark match with Trish, but how does this happen? Who contacts who to bring you in to see this?
Yeah, Paulie was there at the time. Paulie was there. He was doing commentary. And I saw Tommy Dreamer at a indie show in Texas, and he was like, "I'm gonna reach out to Paulie, see if he can, you know, set something up to get you a dark match." And that's what happened. I ended up working Ivory. Ivory, you know, kudos to her. I love her to death, because she told me, she's like, "This match is gonna be all about you. I'm gonna make you look good," you know, and that's what she did. And I've always tried to return that favor, you know. Any girl, while I was there, any female that walked through that door and wanted to try out, I was the one to get in that ring and work with them.
Wow.
Yes.
That's awesome to hear. You don't
Return
ever
the
hear these
favor.
stories. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
ever hear someone coming forth me like I would like to help the future versus I'm
Yeah.
gonna hold on to my spot for dear life.
I wasn't worried about that. I was confident in what I was doing, and in my position. So, you know, the more talent we have, maybe the better matches we can have. You know, it was all about building the women's division in my head. Yeah, but I wasn't worried about my spot. I was that confident.
You should have. You should be because
Yeah,
at the time you brought up, they brought you in as when we be bad, when we be a bad person.
yeah,
Like there were a handful, but obviously they're trying to create like a heel factory for Trish, probably even Lita.
yeah,
You, Victoria, Ivory, depending on what
mhm,
year it is for Molly Holly.
yeah,
Um, People like that. Gail Kim was a mixed bag. Sometimes she was bad, sometimes she wasn't bad, but
yeah,
they didn't treat her
yeah,
well either. But that's a different story altogether. I've already talked to her about that. I've already interviewed her
yeah,
twice about this.
yeah.
Um, you defeated Trish though to become women's champion, and
Mhm,
you even defended your championship at WrestleMania 18 against Trish and Lita. And Trish and Lita in today's world, anytime there is like, let's bring back a legend, they always bring back Trish and Lita,
yeah.
and for good reason, because they were like the top baby faces at the time. But
Mhm,
explain your excitement heading into this WrestleMania because you're champion. This is clearly a dream to be on the biggest card of the Super Bowl of wrestling, and here you are fighting. You might brought Trish like the Golden Goose, and you have
yeah.
Lita, I guess the second Golden Goose,
Yes,
and
yes,
yet there you are, and you're beating both of them.
yes, yes. Honestly, um, during that time, that wasn't really on my mind. You know, it was just about being there for the moment and just going out there and just putting on, you know, a top notch match. It wasn't even about me winning or losing. It was just
Hmm.
about me being a little black girl from Memphis, Tennessee, and Mississippi, and being here on this grandstand stage. It's like it the heck with winning or losing, but you know, but thank God, yes, I made history that night. I became the first, you know, African American woman to go out as champion and still retain my title during a WrestleMania. So
It's
yes,
historic. Historic.
what it is because they never made it a big ordeal, so I didn't think it was. Like now it's like, oh, the first this and the first that, and but then no, it wasn't brought up at all. I
Hmm.
still don't think they talk about me being the first African American, to go out and at a mania and retain the title. I was the first. I was the last WWF Women's Champion, the first WWE Women's Champion.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
none of that is really talked about.
Why do you
So
feel like that though? Why do you like the WrestleMania 18 one? That's a huge, huge historic moment. Like I would
yes,
like put that on a banner somewhere if that happened in my
yes.
company. So why do you feel like that is not talked about?
I don't know. During that time, it just wasn't what. It just wasn't a thing that they were doing at the time.
Mm.
I don't know if because all this Me Too and Speak Out stuff come about here in the last few years. I don't know what made the change, but I'm glad it did. But yeah, but on the back end of it, yeah, it's kind of just left me, dangling.
Right,
It's
because
like you forgot about what I did.
right, because you go back a few years ago, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair main evented a WrestleMania, and that
Yeah,
was historic alone. Two
yes,
black women
sir.
main eventing a WrestleMania, fighting for a championship. But you know what? I'd have to probably go back and watch it. I wonder if on commentary someone slipped in that you were champion and you came in and defended your championship at 18, because that to me is like a nice factoid to drop down on someone, especially, maybe it's a sentence, but at least they said it. But I don't know if they did. And it's shocking to think that they have in today's world haven't brought that up.
You're right, right. Exactly. I don't know why.
Hmm.
If someone can find out and give me the answer, I would love to know I would love to have the answer.
Yeah, that would
Make
be.
me make me understand.
Yeah. And you did make a good point too a second ago, because when the WWF had to change its name to WWE, you were women's champion. So technically, you are the last WWF women's champion and technically the first WWE champion. And maybe they don't want to bring that up because the Panda Bears might try to sue them again, but maybe. Maybe, but that campaign of "Get the F out" was hilarious to me
Yes.
as a child. They're like,
Mhm.
"This is hilarious! They're saying
Yeah.
the F
Yeah.
word, but they're not actually saying the F word."
Well, you don't have to even bring up the F. Just have the first WWE Women's Champion.
That's
Yeah, I'll
true.
take that.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll take that.
I've talked to many people, including like Victoria, in Candice Michelle, other talents like that, who
Mhm.
I'm like, why haven't you been invited back? Like, why? You see again the Trish and the Litas. Nothing against them; they were great. But what about the rest of the people who made them look great? You, Victoria, again, I brought up Candice Michelle. Like they brought back Stacy Keibler out of nowhere, and she's been around years. Nothing against Stacy Keibler, but yet there
Yeah,
are people who have not been brought back who have earned the right to be brought back and a spotlight put on them, including yourself. So it's
yeah.
shocking to think, like, when they have these anniversary shows, 25th anniversaries or 30th, have you ever been called to be invited?
No, nope. No, not at all.
Interesting. Now, why do you, is there a reason? Like, is there something that we don't know that something happened?
I don't know. I mean, they may have their reasons, but here's my take. No matter what I've done, it's still not worse than what others have done and been able to come back. So to me, it's like whatever I did is a pat on the freaking hand compared to what others have done, but yet still been able to come back and be a part of the company. So
Yeah. Yeah, the things I've seen the Ultimate Warrior say on online and then brought back, and unfortunately he passed away. But the things I saw he say, you're like, God,
right,
man.
right.
Oh my
What's the
God.
other one? The one who used to do commentary back in the 80s. He was governor. What was his
Oh,
name?
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Another one. He sued him how many times? It's like,
Yeah.
hey, but
He won a lot of money too because they were selling those VHS tapes. Again, VHS tapes, bringing them back up. He sued them because they were selling them but not giving him royalties for his voice being on all the cards.
yeah, so he sued, got paid and everything, but hey, he was brought back.
I
So
know.
what am
That's
I?
that's a good
With a
point.
black woman that you're gonna try to make irrelevant? I don't know.
Man, and it's crazy to think that. I always wonder why some people are brought back and some people aren't brought back. And obviously, everyone
Yeah.
has their reasons or conversations. Maybe you don't have any cheerleaders left in the company who, and other people are like, oh, let's bring this person back. I'm friends with them still. I don't know. I don't work there. All I know is I've talked to a lot of women's wrestlers. It's not usually the men's problem. It's usually the men who get this weird, the women who get this weird, like, I've been brought back.
Yeah, we
Why?
always get pushed to the side. But
Very
men, yeah,
well. You're not forgotten in my heart, at least. So we'll
thank
we'll,
you.
we'll keep we'll keep moving forward because I know people haven't never forgotten about you. The fans and the people who actually
Yeah,
like are deep in the weeds, reading the books and looking up the historical things. They see your name there attached to a lot of
yeah.
things. So
And
well,
that's what I say, you can't erase history,
right.
so
Some try, but
my name is gonna be brought up for years to come,
of course,
so
yes, 100%. Though you got injured in 2002, and then from there it seems like they wrote you off in the weirdest way ever, which I love to talk about. Is Bubba Ray Dudley and Trish Stratus giving you like a super power bomb from the top through a table. Now you're backwards, sitting up there, going through a table. How does that feel mentally? Because usually a power bomb, pick up, drop down. This is you're sitting there for a brief moment, being like, okay, what's gonna and someone just throws you through. How does that feel? Because that's got to be an
it
interesting
was
concept.
it was very I wasn't happy about it because I was already set to go into surgery 2 days later, for to have my ACL repair. So it's like they didn't care.
So to write you off, they could have easily been like, "Oh, she fell down some stairs," and you show you on the ground like
Oh,
this.
I just could have came in there and got rolled up, a schoolboy or something, whatever. But yeah, let's put it through a table
While you're already injured.
while I'm already injured.
I guess your ACL can't get broken anymore in their
Right?
eyes.
Or anything else, I guess.
Oh man. See,
Yeah.
that's interesting because yeah, you get written off TV with a power bomb, and then from there you come back for a little while. You're a manager for your current your husband right now, Rodney Mack, and then you're released. And it seems to me that they didn't have, at least the way online says, they didn't have any plans for you. They didn't know what to do
But
with
how
you.
is that possible? I just pretty much carried the women's division for 2 years. How do you go from they're just like writing Roman Reigns off right now? Say, hey, brother, we ain't got nothing for you.
Right. They wouldn't fire him. They wouldn't be,
You
oh, I'm
know what I'm
sorry.
saying?
So Why do you feel like you were released? The real
I
reason.
don't know. That's a question that's been, sitting behind, just for making me wonder for the last 15, 20 years, like what and how and why. I don't believe they can come up with a reason.
They just were like, we're
That's
done.
just that's what they tell people. Oh, creative don't, have anything for you. I even told them like, hey, I don't need creative to tell a story for me. I can get out in the ring and create my own story.
Yeah, I agree with you. And
So,
probably around that time, though, eventually they started bringing like supermodels and having the Divas search.
yeah,
And,
they
and,
went back to the they went
maybe
back to
that's
the
why,
Dennis
though.
and Brock bull crap. Yep,
They
they
were
went
like,
back to that for a while.
we don't want to deal with Jazz giving us, she wants to be a great wrestler storyline. We want to have bra and panty matches. We want to have pillow fights. And I,
Yep.
I'm because you see a lot of stories, not about yourself, but in general, when people get released, suddenly when everyone's like, wait, why? And then a story randomly appears. They're hard to work with. And you're like, I've heard that excuse too many times
But
to not believe
that
it.
wasn't even a story that came out about me because no one can say that. No one has ever said that I'm hard to work with. That's one thing that no. If anything, everyone wanted to work with me
Hmm.
from the top companies to the indies. Like people loved to work with me because yeah, I'm easy to work with.
Yeah. That's why I'm trying to figure out. Like, I'm like, there's got to, like, sometimes you just think someone goes to a piece of paper and go, we're done. And then just fire them and they don't even bother thinking about it because they have more things to think
And I could
about.
see if the person was not getting over, you know what I mean. You just couldn't do anything with them, find anything that helped or work for this individual. But for me and Rodney both, like we were making our own way, you
Yeah.
know.
I know. There was,
You know.
your husband Rodney. It felt like randomly they would have something for him, then not, like him and Teddy Long, Mark Henry, and then there was just like him and Chris Nowinski were suddenly together, and it was
Yeah,
just they kept
it's
just being
like
like start go start go start go. Like with you, I felt like there was continuous. We're doing well, and then they were like, oh, she got hurt. Oh, okay, well, whoops, and then they just dropped the
I
ball.
came back. I came back and won the title again.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. So it wasn't even about being injured because everyone gets injured over
of
there,
course.
But like I said, how I go from pretty much carrying the women's division for 2 to 3 years to like you're saying, oh, we don't know what to do with you.
Right.
It just make no sense. And also, I created history with Teddy Long. I'm the only female talent that Teddy has ever managed. He's managed some of the greatest of all times, but I'm the only female that he has ever managed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holla to that.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, yes. And we're all still tight with Teddy. We talk to him shit 2, 3 times a month.
Oh man, I thought you were gonna say 2, 3 times a day. I'm like, stop texting
No,
me,
I'm
Teddy.
not.
Stop
No,
texting me,
no.
Teddy. I don't want to fight the Undertaker. No, stop it.
No, we're all too busy for that.
Of course, children, life in
Life.
general. Life will.
We have our wrestling school, we have a wrestling promotion, like I said, and kids and NWA and
Yeah,
bro, it's a
it's a,
busy life.
it's
But
a, it's a. The circus never stops. It keeps on going. Obviously,
yeah.
the wrestling world never stops. But then you were everywhere after WWE, Shine, NWA, Chikara, AAW, and then out of nowhere, it felt like I didn't see you on TV. Then boom, Impact Wrestling. Then during the pandemic, you showed up, and I'm like, finally, where the hell has she been? I've missed her so much, and
That was
it was awesome.
Yes, I mean it was great. Tommy Dreamer had reached out and was like, "Hey, I heard you was retiring, but you're not gonna retire on the podcast. You're gonna retire in the ring." So I was like, Tommy, I'm not what I was, 10 years ago." He's like, you'll be all right. But so I couldn't turn that opportunity down. So that's what I did. But yeah, it was, and I would take little time off here and there from the business because again, I had my girls and so I didn't want to continue to tear my body up and
Right.
beat it up. So I would sporadically take a little time off here and there, and then I'd come back out of nowhere, which really worked for me. But yeah, I mean, I also feel that during that time period of me not being on TV, that I felt that I should have made contact with more promotions back then. Like I most definitely I should have contacted TNA, because actually they had reached out to me in 2000 and the end of 2007
Mm.
for a job, but I had like as they're calling me, I'm reading my pregnancy test. Literally, like for real.
Wow.
I'm talking to Terry Taylor and I'm looking at my pregnancy test like, yeah, need a little more time because I just found out that I'm pregnant. Yes,
Well, everything is a blessing in disguise sometimes, and
yes,
obviously you wouldn't. The fact that you had children and that's amazing too. But yeah, TNA in 2007, it's interesting because in 2008, I believe, is where they actually have their first inaugural Knockouts Championship at Bound for Glory, and Awesome Kong and Gail Kim end up taking that
yeah,
division to a whole new heights. And while
yeah,
you had still had pillow fights on one side of the table, you
yeah,
had badass women kicking the crap out of each other.
yes,
But
yes,
man, you involved in that era because that would have been like Tracy Brooks, ODB,
yeah.
the
And
beautiful
Tara,
people.
Tara was Tara,
Yeah,
you
Tara. Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Tara. Well, they're
ODB, yeah, man. I feel like I should have been a part of that, but I just didn't, reach back out and just, just because sometimes you don't feel like that you want it, or that you should make these moves. But knowing what I know now, I should have most definitely reached out and did my best to make that happen. Not saying it was going to happen, but at least give it a try.
of course. Well, eventually, of course, years later, it did happen. But
Yeah.
at the time, it would be completely different when you were talking about your
Yes.
knees and how your
Yeah.
body is doing. And we all get older. Father Time has us all. We can't defeat Father Time, no matter how many times we
No,
try to
no,
kick
no,
out.
no, no, no. And I always said, if I can't go out in that ring and beat Jazz, then I'm not going out there.
So were you convinced by Tommy to come to Impact, or you were like, okay, or he's like, no, you're doing it.
Uh I did explain to him that I'm not really in the position to where I could actually go on there on TV and wrestle, but he was like, "You'll be all right. You're Jazz." But opportunity like that comes, you can't say no. But the girls over there, they were wonderful. They opened their arms up and welcomed me. I mean, showed me much love. And working with Gail Kim, hadn't worked with her in years, and working with the like you said, Deanna's, which I thought still today, Deanna is one of the best champions that I have ever and been around, or most definitely been in the ring with. um yeah, and Jordan Grace, she's a little pit bull,
Yeah,
so yeah. So I went out, on it was a great ending for me. Yes, far
yeah,
as in ring.
yeah,
Yes.
yes, yes. I
Yeah.
feel like if you're done it in the ring and you had your career versus championship match against Deanna, that was a great ending. Deanna will
Yeah.
go down as one of the best champions in Impact. Like I said,
Yes.
I was with Awesome Kong and Gail Kim on top of that. There's other,
Mhm.
obviously, so many other names too. But
Mhm.
right now, you and Deanna had that match. And so after that match, you're done. You
Yeah.
officially retired in the ring. You're officially done.
Officially done. Then Pat Kenny reaches out to me, congratulates me on the retirement.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you, Pat. I hadn't spoken to Pat, oh my God, since ECW. Like,
Simon Diamond, right?
yes,
Yeah,
Simon
Simon
Diamond, which
Diamond. Yeah.
was which was weird. I'm like, how the hell he get my number? But my number is out there for the world to see. Like, I've never tried to kayfabe, my number or anything. But
I was gonna
yeah,
say I have your phone number, so
right, right, right. Yes, yes. Well, then, like a couple of days later, he reached out again. He was like, "So, are you gonna be aging for Impact or anything?" I said, "Well, Pat, no one has reached out to me and discussed anything with me about that." He's like, "Really? So, what do you think about coming to our promotion?" I'm like, what promotion is that? He's like, NWA. And I was like, yes. That wasn't even a second thought. I gave him a yes right then and there, because that's something that I've always wanted to do, be on the back end of things, So, and here I am today,
Here we are
still
today.
there. Yes.
Wow, with
This is
NWA
going on
75 coming up.
I think this is going on it's like my third year here now.
Wow. It feels like only yesterday we started it.
Yes.
Wow. Again, so much is happening. You've done so much, made history in the world. And today we are making sure everybody knows the history of jazz because
Yes.
you've done so much. And I feel like you don't get the credit you deserve. So I'm glad today we were able to hit home all
Yes,
the
sir.
first things you did. If
Yes.
everyone's obsessed with facts and trivia and firsts, well, guess what? You have a plethora of them. So,
Yes, sir.
we talked about them all, going into the champion as a black woman, defending the championship successfully as well, all these amazing things you've done. And again, NWA 75 is coming out this weekend, and you're producing the women's matches, I'm assuming. So we have
Yes.
Camille versus Natalia Markova, and the winner of that takes on the winner of the Burke Invitational Battle Royal. So when we have a lot of things going on this weekend in professional wrestling, some people might be going to Wembley. Well, I'm not doing that because I'm going to be watching NWA 75 this weekend.
All right. That's right. They better tune in.
Nothing against Wembley. Don't hurt me.
Yeah.
Don't hurt me.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts, though. I'd like to go through some wrestler names and just hear what you think of them in general, because you've worked with some of these people. Some of them probably even haven't, worked with them, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on these people. I'm going to get just like 5 names. So I'll give you their name. You give me your thoughts on them. First off, you worked with her a lot. Trish Stratus.
Trish Stratus. What can I say about Trish? She's she was fun to work with, it was a little bit different with Trish because she never actually went to a wrestling school to learn how to train as a wrestler. So Mondays, was pretty much, wrestling school for us. So, we spent a lot of time together. I have a lot of love and respect for Trish. But on Mondays we would get there and we would be in the ring for, 3 to 4 hours.
Whew.
Yes.
Wow.
So, yes. So it was
So Mondays,
it was a lot of work going in there with Trish.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Garfield doesn't like Mondays. It doesn't sound like Mondays were that much fun for anybody else who had to work with Trish. Nothing against her, Hall of Famer. Yeah. Congratulations to you. Camille.
I love her work ethic. Camille has come really a long way. I remember when I first met Camille, I was just, first of all, I was just blown away at how, just how she looked. She looked like a wrestler.
Yeah.
So, and I knew one day she was most definitely going to be a star. But yeah, I love her work ethic. I love working with Camille, honestly. I have nothing bad to say about Camille.
No, I'm not looking for bad words either. If you want to say bad things about anyone, you do you. Natalia Markova. I've interviewed her a few times now, and I think she's amazing. What do you think of her?
She is. She's most definitely tough, and there's nothing that she's not willing to go out there to do. I'll say that about her.
Yeah, I interviewed her once, and she's like, I broke my jaw. Do I look okay? I'm like, you look great. And her face was like out here, and I was like,
yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm excited about that match between her and Camille, even though they worked each other a few times. But I know 75 is going to be totally different.
Yeah, weapons involved as well. So, that's going to be baseball bat to the face. Never.
Those are 2 women that if you want to get in the ring and bring a fight, those are 2 women that I would most definitely put my money on. But I don't know what to say about this NWA 75. I don't know. I can't actually say who I feel and think that's gonna go home victorious. I don't know.
Yeah, it might look bad on you.
Yeah,
just a little.
Yeah,
when you show up to work and they're like, "Hi, Jazz," you're like, "Oh, you saw that interview?" Because I have become friends with Camille and Natalia Markova, so
Yeah.
imagining that they'll watch this and be like, what did she say?
Yeah, and I love them both, and they know how I feel about both of them, you know.
Yeah, of
So
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't. I'm gonna be a fan that night.
Great answer. You just
Yeah.
saved yourself a lot of
Yes.
headaches. Good answer. What about Charlotte Flair? I know you weren't ever in the ring with her, but someone who has come from a family, the daughter of Ric Flair, that pressure alone has got to be huge. But the fact that she has, I feel like, exceeded all expectations. But what do you think of her?
I think she's the GOAT for real. I feel that if there's anyone I would get opportunity to work with, she would be the one. If I had to come out of retirement, it would be with her.
And that's the title of this interview.
Yeah.
Jazz will come out of retirement to fight Charlotte Flair.
I would.
Because I think people would love that. And I think Charlotte Flair would appreciate it as well. Because I feel like she respects every generation of women wrestlers. And give it to me.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Because, and it doesn't matter who's be face or heel. I think we both could pull it off.
Yes, 100%. Oh my god!
I'll go in as face. It wouldn't matter to me.
I think you might have to, because she is somehow, no matter what she does, is booed. I don't know why. Like you brought up, she's the GOAT. So many people might have done other things, but she's gonna break records, and she's not even done yet.
Yeah, she's
not even close. And final name, absolutely love her. Right now, she's a free agent. Jordynne Grace. She left Impact recently. She was in WWE in the Mae Young Classic, but we haven't seen her since leaving Impact. Thoughts on Jordynne Grace, because she is someone who is like star all over her.
Yeah, she's a pit bull. She's a pit bull. She's a workhorse. I mean, she proves it every day. You know, she goes from wrestling to bodybuilding. I mean, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, 100%.
And still wrestling and traveling and while doing it. So, you know, that's dedication right there. Because, you know, when you get into bodybuilding, you got to eat every certain amount of hours, and, you know, such amount of liquids you can intake, you know. So yeah, I consider that a scientist. So she's a scientist.
That should be her wrestling nickname. I like her gimmick.
Yeah.
No lab coat though. I don't want the lab
coat. No.
Yeah, she's impressive. That when she decided to go do some bodybuilding recently, and she trimmed just down, like it was nothing left but muscle.
Yeah.
Dude, like impressive.
I couldn't do it.
No. And then there was like an interview where she did it. So she did the bodybuilding and then started eating regular again, and did an interview. Everyone was like, what happened to her? What happened to her? And she had to come forward like, when I lose all this weight and then start eating regular food, you know, your body is like, wait a minute, what is this? Like, you want to eat food again? And obviously does something to your face or body, because suddenly you're filling in the spots.
You eat a piece of bread and you're going to look totally different, you know?
100%. Oh my God. Yeah, she's outstanding. I hope that whoever gets her next, NWA or WWE or AEW or New Japan, whoever it is going to be lucky to have her, because she's a star. And I'm so surprised she wasn't signed years ago when she was in the Mae Young Classic, along with so many other great talents from that tournament. But in general, I got to say, it has been an honor and a privilege to talk to you about the past, the present, and the future of professional wrestling with Jazz. Again, we brought it up. How many times we have to say it? First, you know, we talked about the scientist being Jordynne Grace's gimmick. You should be Jazz the first Jazz, because you've done so much. And it has been an honor and a privilege to talk to you today. I cannot wait. Remember, this weekend, NWA 75, August 26th and 27th. It's not one event. It's a double event weekend, and I'm pumped. You're pumped. You're all
triple
pumped.
Event. It's my birthday weekend. It's my birthday weekend.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday. Oh, my God. We're turning 23 again? I always turn 23 every year. So
27.
27. I'm glad you're being honest with us today, because I always turn 23. So in reality, the hairline doesn't show 23, but it's there. Oh, it's been a privilege. I have been Steve Fall. She is Jazz. Have a great day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.